There's something strange about the way we treat certain books. Not all of them, just a select few. Some are placed on pedestals, literally and figuratively. They're printed in gold, wrapped in leather, and placed on nightstands across the world. Not just to be read, but revered. The Bible, perhaps more than any other book, has been given that kind of treatment. Not just as a document of ideas, but as an untouchable authority. But here's the question. Why? Why does this one book, assembled over centuries by countless human hands, get elevated beyond critique? Why does it get labeled sacred while everything else remains secular? That distinction, sacred versus secular, isn't just a matter of vocabulary. It shapes laws, cultures, identities, and even the way we approach truth. So today, we're pulling that apart, not to mock or insult, but to ask, does the Bible actually deserve the authority it's been granted? Or is it time to stop treating it like a divine manual and start seeing it as a historical artifact? Let's start with a basic truth. The Bible wasn't dropped from the sky. It wasn't written in one sitting or even by one group of people. It's a stitched-together anthology of stories, poems, laws, and letters, written in different languages, in different eras, by people with vastly different agendas. Some parts contradict others. Some authors directly argue with the ideas of others. And yet it's often spoken about as if it were one coherent message from a single divine mind. Even most believers, when asked directly, acknowledge that humans wrote the Bible, but they quickly follow that up with a claim that it was inspired by God. And that's where the authority gets smuggled in. Inspiration. It's a vague word, and that's what makes it useful. It doesn't have to mean dictated, just nudged, whispered, influenced, which means there's no clear test for it. No way to measure it, verify it, or challenge it. But once that divine stamp is assumed, everything in the book gets treated as beyond question. That's not how we treat other texts. We can admire Shakespeare's insight or study the philosophy of Plato, or even take moral lessons from novels. But no one argues that disagreeing with them is a spiritual failure. No one threatens eternal punishment for challenging a character in Moby Dick. But the Bible? That's different. It's not just read, it's obeyed. And that's the shift we need to look at. Because the moment you stop asking where ideas come from, you stop being able to evaluate them honestly. Take the concept of sin, for example. It's not a naturally observable phenomenon. There's no scientific instrument that can detect it. It exists purely as a moral category. And it exists because certain texts say it does. But sin, in many biblical contexts, includes things like touching a dead body, wearing mixed fabrics, eating shellfish, or daring to work on a Saturday. Are those timeless moral truths? Or are they cultural norms from ancient desert societies, written into a book and preserved by tradition? When we say the Bible is sacred, what we're really doing is shielding it from accountability. We're saying it can't be held to the same standards as other books because it's from God. And that word, God, acts like a philosophical dead end. It halts inquiry. It overrides doubt. It bypasses reason. That's the power of sacredness. Once something is sacred, it becomes off-limits. And off-limits ideas are dangerous, not because they're always wrong, but because they no longer have to prove themselves. Let's consider history. During the Dark Ages, the Bible wasn't just a book, it was a weapon. Not metaphorically, literally. It was used to justify crusades, inquisitions, witch hunts, and forced conversions. And even today, it's invoked in debates over women's rights, LGBTQ rights, scientific research, and education. People say, well, the Bible says, as if that settles the matter. But why should it? This isn't about whether the Bible contains wisdom. Sure, parts of it do. So do thousands of other books. The problem isn't wisdom, it's authority. The problem is when that authority is considered absolute. When the Bible is used not as a source of ideas to consider, but as a final answer to shut down discussion. And ironically, even the Bible's most devoted followers don't follow it fully. Most Christians don't observe Old Testament dietary laws. Most don't stone adulterers. Most churches ignore the rules about slaves obeying masters or women keeping silent. What happens is a kind of cherry-picking. Some verses are taken as literal, others are explained away as cultural. But who decides, and on what basis? If the Bible is divinely inspired, shouldn't it all be equally binding? This inconsistency reveals something important. People don't really follow the Bible, they follow their interpretation of it, and those interpretations are shaped by culture, politics, and personal preference. So the idea that the Bible provides a clear, objective moral framework doesn't hold up. It's a mirror. People find in it what they're already inclined to believe. Psychologists have studied this too. There's a phenomenon called motivated reasoning, where people use logic not to find the truth, but to defend what they already want to believe. When someone sees the Bible as sacred, they're much more likely to defend its content even when it clashes with reason or morality. That's not critical thinking. It's confirmation bias dressed up as piety. And this plays out in real life all the time. Think about how often religious institutions have resisted progress, whether it's the abolition of slavery, the advancement of women's rights, or the recognition of same-sex marriage. In many of these cases, the Bible was cited as justification for preserving the status quo. It wasn't just a spiritual guide, it was a political tool. And yet, when you bring this up, people often say, well, that's not real Christianity, or that's a misinterpretation. But that raises the question, what counts as the real version? There are over 40,000 denominations of Christianity worldwide, many of them in conflict with one another. Each claims to follow the same book. Each claims to hold the truth. If the Bible were truly clear and authoritative, would that kind of fragmentation even be possible? The truth is, the Bible's authority is a social construction. It's propped up by tradition, reinforced by ritual, and sustained by fear. Fear of hell, fear of doubt, fear of social rejection. It's not held up by reason. If the Bible were introduced today as a brand new document, it wouldn't be given authority. It would be studied like any other piece of ancient literature, debated, critiqued, contextualized, and that's how it should be treated. A text only deserves respect to the degree that its ideas hold up under scrutiny. Some parts of the Bible are poetic, insightful, or historically significant. Others are brutal, regressive, or plainly contradictory. We can appreciate its role in shaping history without pretending it has the final word on morality or truth. We don't owe the Bible reverence just because other people have treated it as sacred. To call something sacred is to exempt it from criticism. But real progress comes from questioning, from testing ideas, from holding them up to the light, not shielding them behind stained glass. In the end, if a belief is true, it doesn't need protection. It needs openness. If a moral teaching is good, it doesn't need divine origin. It just needs to make sense. And if a book has power, let it be because of the strength of its ideas, not the weight of its tradition. The moment we stop asking where authority really comes from, the moment we just accept it, we give up part of our ability to think freely. And when we do that, we don't just lose our grip on truth, we lose a piece of ourselves.